Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Sumayah Rahman. Sumayah is the Director of Data Science, Machine Learning and Infrastructure at Cedar. Sumayah, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, JP. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're delighted to have you. Let's start with yourself, please, Sumayah, as we do with all of our guests. Could you give us a little bit of an overview of your background in technology and what your journey has been from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, and tell us about how you got to where you are today as the Director of Data Science, ML and Infrastructure for Cedar?
Definitely. So I've had a bit of a winding journey. I've always had a really wide range of interests. I've liked both the humanities and the sciences and studied in both areas. In college, I majored in biology, but I minored in ethics. And after a PhD in computational biology, I worked for a few different tech companies, including Apple, where I worked on health features for the Apple Watch and iPhone, and Intuit, where I worked on using financial data to predict behavioral traits to help make recommendations that are aligned with user values. And I found the work at Intuit especially cool. I've always had a passion for behavioral economics. Why do people make certain decisions? And why is it that those decisions sometimes are not fully rational or logical? And using data science to understand this almost felt like a contradiction. How can we use data to bring understanding and order to something that feels more stochastic or hard to explain? And in this moment, I became really fascinated by the concept of applying AI and ML to create more personalized solutions. Because when it comes to people, there's always a lot of diversity. It's never one size fits all. And at this experience at Intuit, this confirmed to me that data scientist is the career I wanted to pursue because it allowed me to answer these interesting questions. Then a couple of years ago, I joined Cedar. Cedar is a healthcare billing and engagement platform that's really focused on improving the healthcare financial experience for patients. At the time, Cedar was looking for someone to lead their AI and ML efforts. And it honestly blew me away how ideal this role was. With my background in health applications and an interest in using my skills to affect positive change, it felt really aligned with the Cedar healthcare mission. And there was also that FinTech angle as well, aligned with my behavioral econ interests and my previous experience working in FinTech. All around, it was a really long road that brought me to Cedar, but it all feel like it helped me wind up in the right place.
Indeed. And yeah, for those listening, Cedar has been on the podcast previously with Sumayah's colleague, Johan, another good episode I'd recommend you check out. But as you mentioned, Sumayah, look, your background is somewhat winding, but it feels like all roads were pointing to where you are today. You've given us a little bit of an insight into who Cedar is as a business. So let's jump straight into your role, the core responsibilities, and talk about the current environment that you're a part of, focusing on the AI aspect, because Cedar are a very interesting company utilizing AI within not just healthcare and payments, but an element of FinTech. So help us visualize your team, your role, its responsibilities, and what's going on day to day.
With my role, I lead both our AI and ML work streams. And we use these technologies or techniques for various applications throughout the Cedar product. So our main product, Cedar Pay, which has been around since the start of the company, is really focused on using personalization and optimization to drive an improved financial experience for patients. For example, we might use machine learning to make predictions about patient behavior that then help us make the optimal recommendations for these patients. One example is our machine learning powered discounts feature, where we use machine learning to determine which patient needs a discount in order to be encouraged to pay their bill. We also have an AI work stream that's really focused on using AI to streamline workflows for our customers and to drive bill clarity for patients. For example, we built an AI chat assistant that responded to patients about their billing questions. And the results from this project showed us that AI could be really helpful in transforming the patient experience. We're now working on building an AI voice agent that will contribute to our Cedar Support product line, which is focused on a combined call center services and tech offering that helps revenue cycle teams collect more from patients while spending less. These are just a couple of the AI and ML initiatives that we have going on at Cedar. And my job as a director of data science is to lead the data science efforts for these initiatives.
Amazing. There's so much to unpack there, and I appreciate you giving us high level because, a few seconds on each just doesn't do it enough justice, the complexity of what you've built. But I want to spend a little bit of time talking at the journey of the data science group and your role. You're coming up on 3 years now with Cedar, and at the time, while Cedar was still working heavily in developing a data science environment, you were brought in to sort of help level up and level up in scale. When you look at the last 3 years of the progress that your team has made, what are some of the highlights, and can you help us visualize the journey from when you first came in to where it is today?
So when I first joined Cedar, the ML efforts were just in the very early stages of being kicked off. We had just deployed our first machine learning model, and data science was definitely a super important part of the way that Cedar built the Cedar Pay product. But I feel like ML was still in the very early stages. And since that time, we've validated our hypothesis that ML can be used to drive performance improvements of our product, and that it can be used for a variety of different applications, going beyond maybe our initial ideas of machine learning discounts, but really expanding that into things like using machine learning to optimize payment plans, using it to streamline some of the workflows that are done by both our patients and our clients. And we've started to validate our ability to use ML for these more diverse applications. We've also figured out how ML and AI really fit into the overall Cedar product and business strategy. Rather than it just being something that's more of a nice to have, it's now starting to become more core and integral to Cedar's big picture business strategy. So that's, I think, the biggest thing I've noticed over the past few years is now that we've proved out the benefit, how can we really ensure that AI and ML are used to drive Cedar forward into being a market leader in the space?
Sumayah, I want to switch directions slightly now and talk a little bit about your own journey again into Cedar. While a lot of your background was in the pure tech world and a decent chunk of it being in the FinTech, earlier in your career, you had some exposure to healthcare and health technologies. And I remember our conversations in bringing you back to Cedar was one of the interests, was getting back to an area that you had some exposure to earlier in your career. When you made the switch and you transitioned into Cedar, looking back over the last 3 years, what were some of the standout things that you noticed the difference in industry, whether it be some unique challenges that you faced or things that you needed to adapt to? And part two of it is offering advice to candidates, data scientists, and ML engineers who have an interest in making this similar switch. What information and advice could you share?
I'll back up a little bit and talk about some of my healthcare experience working on a health team at Apple. And this was really interesting because working at Apple gave me this really great experience and insight into how a big tech company operates. I had a very interesting role where I was designing health algorithms and building new features while simultaneously running user research studies. But despite that, something was missing for me at Apple. At a huge company like that, at my level, I did not get as much insight as I wanted into the higher level company strategy. And I felt like the business angle was something that I wanted more of. So at that point, I left Apple and took a role at a hybrid private equity venture capital firm called Point72 Hyperscale, where I was working to integrate AI and ML into the operations of our portfolio companies. And I think a lot of people at the time saw this move as something more unexpected. I left Apple just after a year and a half to go into this role for a private investment firm. But it turned out to be a really amazing opportunity for me because I was involved in establishing the AI strategy for these relatively new companies that would help modernize them into market leaders. So in that role, I had the opportunity to do things like set company level OKRs, hire out the first tech team for these companies, and assist with these like larger level strategies. And I think that set me up really well to take this leadership role at Cedar, where I was involved in establishing the machine learning efforts, figuring out how it rolls up into Cedar's company strategy, And I think that this move into more of the business side and the commercial side really helped prepare me for this leadership position at a company where AI and ML was becoming a more and more important part of the company strategy. And that's something that I think I would recommend to earlier career data scientists and machine learning engineers as well, is that in order to ultimately get to a place where you're working on the things that you want to work on, it might end up being a little bit more of a winding path where you get exposed to these different areas in order to collect the different pockets of experience that you're looking for to be able to get to a place where you can really make an impact in a role that might combine both like the technical side and the business side or whatever piece you want to focus on. But I think that's something that always stood out to me about some of the decisions that I previously made.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
Sumayah, again, going back to your role now, you're overseeing multiple teams in a fast-paced environment, and I know from experience the standard and the caliber of people at Cedars of the very highest level. We're talking top 5 to 10% ability-wise, but also a very specific focus on culture. Speaking to an audience of data scientists and ML engineers, can you give us a little bit of insight into what it's like to be part of the team at Cedar, working on a typical project life cycle, how everyone communicates together? What's it like to be part of the team there?
So at Cedar, I would say Cedar is a really unique company because we take collaboration very seriously. When we are kicking off a new project, or no matter what stage we are in a project, we hold a series of brainstorming sessions and team planning sessions. And the more unique thing I think about these sessions is that they're not just talk, they directly influence our roadmap, our tech stack decisions, and our approaches. Every team member's input is critical and valued. And at Cedar, we are all encouraged to pursue really bold innovations. And we take an approach where we are working with the team to figure out what is the most transformative thing we can build, while also doing so in a way that enables us to quickly measure, iterate, and improve our solutions. And I think the team-focused and collaboration-focused approach at Cedar is much more than I've seen at other companies.
Thank you for that, Sumayah. I want to stay then on the topic of team and what's going on in Cedar, because looking at where you're at now as a business, you guys have obviously invested heavily in your data science and ML capabilities, and you've given us some insight into some of the successful projects. I want to focus now on what's next. When you look at the near-term roadmap, particularly the next 1 to 2 years, because it's always hard to forecast beyond that. But when you look at 2025 and the plans for the data and ML team at Cedar, what are you excited about? What are you hoping to accomplish? What are you guys focusing on? And what's the next phase of your journey going to look like?
Yeah, so the next phase of our journey is focused around our new product layer called Cedar Support. And this is an add-on to Cedar Pay that leverages AI to boost staff efficiency and to reduce staff involvement in patient interactions by empowering patients to self-serve. So right now, as you can imagine, when you receive a healthcare bill, it's not the easiest thing to understand. A lot of our patients are calling into our call centers and experiencing high wait times because of the high load that these servicing centers currently have. We think that AI can be a really helpful strategy to automate some of these phone calls, and we are building an AI voice agent that can answer patient billing questions. I would say that this is one of the most exciting initiatives that we're working on right now. And it's also one of the most challenging things we're working on right now. We have to build an accurate, professional, and empathetic AI with a range of potential use cases. And this is something that I think serves as a really interesting challenge to work on, but also has the opportunity for a lot of impact, because healthcare billing is a complicated space. It's a space with a lot of opportunity for improvement, and I think represents a really potentially impactful application of AI.
So Maya, staying on the topic then of growth and opportunity, I want to focus on where you anticipate needing to add to your already strong team. What sort of positions do you foresee when you're thinking about the types of people you're going to want to bring in, what's important to you. Can you give us a little bit of insight into the headcount roadmap and where you're going to be looking to add talent?
Absolutely. So right now I'm hiring for both our ML and AI work streams. With the ML role, I'm really focused on identifying someone with a strong modeling skill set, extensive experience in machine learning development and deployment. I would describe this as end-to-end work across the full machine learning lifecycle. When it comes to ML projects at Cedar, we don't have our data scientists just build a model. It's really a long-term, step-by-step process that involves understanding the business problem, proposing potential solutions, analyzing the data, coming up with a data-driven strategy for how to design a solution to a particular problem, building the model, deploying the model, monitoring it, maintaining it, and evaluating potential for further improvements and iteration. And that's the type of experience I would want to see for someone who comes in for the machine learning role, is really that end-to-end ability to work across the entire machine learning lifecycle. The other role I'm hiring for is more on the AI side. So that's working with large language models and generative AI technologies to build some of the products that I was describing earlier, like our AI voice agent. For this role, I think the ability to, again, work not only on designing the solution, but evaluating it, coming up with the right metrics to understand where is it going wrong, how can we make it better. That's the type of work and thinking that I'm looking for. And for both roles, what I think is something really important is the ability to take a very clear, structured approach to problem solving.
Final question from me, Sumayah. As someone who joined Cedar 3 years ago and has now taken on a fairly significant leadership position overseeing multiple teams, you're heavily involved in shaping not just the technical strategy, but also the people management side of things. When you're speaking to people about Cedar, what is it that you tell them about Cedar's environment, its product, its mission, that gets candidates who you believe could add value to Cedar, that gets these individuals excited enough to join Cedar?
Yeah, at Cedar, one of our core values is focus on the vision. We look to hire people who are truly interested in making an impact on patients. And I think that this really comes through in our day-to-day work. We have several AI principles that guide our work, and many of them are focused on ensuring the best possible experience for both patients and operators, the users of our AI technologies or solutions. And I think that this is something, having this be a part of our mission and a part of our principles helps to really attract the right people who are doing this work, not only because the technical work is interesting, but also because they truly want to make a difference. So that's something that's always rung true throughout the different AI and ML products we've worked on at Cedar.
Sumayah, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. It's been a pleasure to learn about obviously your background, which I was familiar with anyway, but to be able to share with our audience, to get an update on all the exciting things happening with Cedar as a business, and most importantly, the exciting growth that's in store with tremendous career opportunities for people. So we wish you, the team, and everyone at Cedar continued success, and we look forward to having you back on the show again in the near future. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, JP.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.